I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, Statistics.com, who has been educating students and professionals in data science from all over the world for over 20 years. But more about that later. Let's get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next edition of STATURDAY Chat Live here on Saturday, December 3rd, 2022. I hope you all are doing very well for wherever you happen to be in the world. So I always like to know where people are watching from, so please put that in the chat, and I will definitely put it up on screen, and we'll have a good conversation. So if you are new to the stream, here's how it goes. I go for 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how the conversation goes. And I don't want to waste your time or mine because I know we all have things to do. I will attempt to answer whatever question you might have or comment on whatever comment you put in the chat. But if I can't answer that, I do apologize. I can't answer everything, extemporaneously off the top of my head necessarily. But I can follow up with you on LinkedIn or something like that if you really need an answer to something. I will do my very, very best to do that. So what is new and going on, and what can you expect from the channel going forward? So before I get to that, as I said, please put your comments and everything in the chat. I'll put those up on screen for everyone to see, and we'll have a good conversation here today. So on the channel, next week, December 17th, no, 2 weeks from today, December 17th will be the last live stream of 2022. Obviously, it's the end of the year and holiday seasons are coming up. Also, I will be traveling between Christmas and New Year's to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So if you happen to be there or know anyone there, you'll be there too, let me know. But I'll be in Amsterdam for the week of Christmas through New Year, and then I'll come back after New Year's. I'm doing some traveling I've always wanted to do. So December 17th, 2 weeks from today, will be the last stream of 2022. All right. Also, I have released a new video this week. If you haven't seen, so let me put this up on the screen here. All right. So obviously this is the channel. I assume you all know that if you're here, but this is the channel, and there is a new video out this week on time series. It's really the first sort of quantitative video in the time series videos I'll be putting out over the next several months. So it's just about the naive forecast and some basic concepts. Took me a while to put together. There are some videos I do that I'm really proud of. I'm proud of all of them, but there are some that I work on for like days and days and weeks, seriously, like dozens and dozens of hours. And this is one of those. I'm really proud of how this turned out. It's a good stepping stone for videos to come after it, which actually when I get done with this stream today, I'm going to actually leave, go up to the coffee shop and do a few hours work and then come back and watch football. So, yeah, so more videos coming over the next, I hope to get 1 or 2 more out before I head out overseas and the holiday season gets here, but we will see. The subsequent videos are easier to make because the first one is always the one that sets up everything else, like the data set I'm using and everything else. That's the hard part. So they should come out, a bit quicker in the weeks to come. All right, so that one's out. If you haven't checked this video out, please give it a watch. It obviously helps the channel. I do appreciate it. On that note, wrong one. So super chats and PayPal tips are welcome. It definitely helps the channel. For instance, the video you're looking at on the screen I just released, I have them professionally captioned, like by a human being, so the captions are all correct, and that costs $45 to do that. So I do that for people whose primary language is not English necessarily, so having the captions helps. Obviously, anyone who is hearing impaired needs the captions, and also anyone who might be watching in an environment like on their headphones, like on a bus or somewhere else, where it's easy to follow along with the captions because they're in a public setting. So for all those reasons, I invest the money into having them captioned and everything else. So I usually don't do this kind of stuff, but if you have a couple of dollars or whatever, you can put into the PayPal tip jar or super chat. I do appreciate it because it goes right back into the channel. I don't live large. I'm not out buying fancy cars or anything like that. I put whatever money I have back into the channel. So I appreciate whatever help you can give. All right. What else do I want to get out of the way before we get into some of the chats and everything else? So probably the next live stream after the holidays will be probably mid-January. So I'll probably take a month off from live streaming, of course, the holiday season and the my trip to Amsterdam will be during that period. So yeah, mid-January is probably when I'll start back up again. That's when school starts back up for most people, so that's a good time. So I'll probably take about a month off from live streaming after December 17th, okay? So yes, here's a new video, more coming out after this one, so please check those out. It really does help if you watch them, of course. All right. Actually, I'm going to put this back up real fast for individuals. Yep. So I have a little website here. You can find everything you need here as far as playlists. So if you go to Stats 101 here, you will see all the playlists that you can go directly to. Little description for each one. If you hover over it, it will tell you how many videos are in that playlist, how long the playlist is in total, and how long the average video is. So if you'd like to binge watch videos on a topic, this is where you can go to figure out exactly how long it will take to go through an entire topic. Just here on my website. It's very simple. Click on the little button, it'll take you right to that playlist, of course. While I'm here, I do have PDFs you can purchase to support the channel for 4 of my most popular playlists. They're like 300 pages, 350, 400 pages, 200 pages. They're ginormous. So they are the slides, notes, and the transcript for all the videos in those popular playlists. So if you're looking for study materials for exams, which are coming up right now, or just for your own knowledge, they're right here. And it's kind of like giving me a donation to the channel, but you get like a 400-page PDF in return. So that helps the channel, of course. The downloads, so some of my videos have downloads along with them. You can find those here in the download section of the site. Just find out which video that you're watching. So that's that there. And also, you can contact me before the live streams that I do, or just in general. On my website, you can just put a little, your name, email, and the comment in there and send it to me. That'll email it to me, and I can address it during the live stream or offline. So, website is very simple, but it's helpful, right? All right. Do have some FAQs as well. If you're interested in some of the things I do on the side or just me in general, there's an FAQ there. All right. Let me close this and get back to just my ugly mug. All right, everybody. So let's get back to the chat. Piper Trip. Hello, hello. How you doing, my friend? Hello. Cheers from the Mile High City. Excellent. Hope to make it back out there someday. Yajendra, hello, hello. Oh, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate that very, very much. Very kind of you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Your videos are extremely intuitive and empowering. Excellent. I'm very happy that you enjoy them. That's why I do them, of course. I just do the work, and hopefully you can benefit from them. No fake tans. Nope, no fake tans on my trips. So I actually can tan. I'm lucky. I can actually get a tan, but no fake tans. Raghav says, hello, Brandon. Here from Bangalore. How was your trip to Germany? All the pics you posted on LinkedIn were very nice. Yes, the trip to Germany a couple months ago. I guess I left basically 2 months ago today, approximately. My trip to Germany was fantastic. It was everything I'd hoped it would be, plus some. I loved it over there. It helps that the weather was perfect the entire time. It was like 60, 65 degrees and sunny the entire time. It only had one small little rain shower. It was over in like 2 minutes, and then that was it. I actually got sunburned twice when I was over there because it was so sunny and warm, and it was just fantastic. So I hope to go back to Germany. I loved everything about it. The train system, the public transportation system is what makes it all work. The train pass I bought allowed me to get to 7 cities during my my trip there. So Bonn, Cologne, Berlin. Got to go to Berlin for a day. Koblenz, Kolkum, and Stuttgart. Made it to all those cities on the trip. So it was amazing. So I hope to go back next year is my goal. Piper Trip asks, any chance you'd ever make printed copies? The PDFs. PDFs are great, but I like to get away from screens to read. So Piper Trip, if you're asking if I'm ever going to like formally make printed copies to like sell, like bound or anything like that, no. It's really, one, is expensive to do that. The demand is not there. And if you get the PDF that you buy, you can print it yourself. So you can take it to, FedEx or whatever else and give them the PDF, and they can print it and bind it for you. Pretty inexpensively if you really want that. So, so you can make your own. And of course, if you print it, you can print off just the parts you want if you really want to do that. So as of right now, no. As far as me formally making paper copies. All right. Yeah. So because I get so bloody distracted at my computer, absolutely. One way I get around that is if I'm reading a PDF. Not everyone has this ability or has the device, but I read PDFs on my iPad. I found that reduces the amount of distraction for me, actually, because that's about the only thing I do on my iPad is read. So that kind of helps. All right, so what we got here? Caroline Jazzy asks, videos on inductive generalizations or relative frequencies in Bayes rule formulas that can be done on a calculator. I'm taking argument inferences, no calculator instructions thus far, new sub. So Caroline, probably not. I probably will not do videos on those specific topics. It's a bit outside of what I do. But I do like to write things down. So what I will say about this, Caroline, is that I do have to do some videos on Bayesian statistics and finite math, which is, of course, Bayes rule and stuff. But yeah, so probably not specifically, but maybe tangentially, Caroline. So sorry about that. All right. Dennis, hey, have a great weekend. You too. Yeah, I'm hoping to have a great weekend. It's pretty cold and windy here in Ohio where I'm at. But, here in the U.S., well, let's talk about, all you World Cup fans, I hope you're having a good World Cup. I don't follow, here, of course, we call it soccer here. I don't follow it very closely. I haven't even checked on the score. Anyone have an update on the Netherlands USA score? Go ahead and put it in the chat. But my weekend is going to be doing some YouTube work after this, and then tomorrow morning, and the rest of the weekend I'll probably be watching football. So American football. That's going to be my weekend. It's college championship weekend in football here, and some great pro games as well. That's my weekend. All right. Then that, yeah. Hope you recall amendment from Ethiopia. I do believe so. Excellent. Hope so. Trying to remember. I think so. A lot of streams. Been doing this for a long time now. Any documented training Excel and SPSS to researchers? SPSS, no. So SPSS tends to be a proprietary computer program, what is a proprietary computer program by IBM now, that is mostly used in social sciences, which you may be. It's mainly used in social sciences. But of course, I have many, probably hundreds at this point, videos that deal with Excel. And as I showed you on my website before, all those files you can download are Excel files. So you can download those and follow along with the video. So the videos that use Excel are training you on that particular topic or that statistical concept. And of course, there is a lot of how to use Excel built into those videos. They're not Excel training videos per se, but they are, they are using, Excel. So, so that's kind of the extent that I do that. But SPSS, probably not. Any sort of proprietary software is kind of falling out of favor in my view. So students are sticking to Excel, which everyone has access to one way or another, pretty much, one form, or Google Sheets, which is sort of the corollary to that, which is also free. Of course, R and Python and stuff like that. So, paid proprietary software programs, it's hard to get students or even professionals to use those now because there are other free or just there are other free alternatives or universal alternatives that we all mostly have on our computers. So, all right. Nasrullah, hello from India. Hi, Nasrullah. I hope you're doing very well. I always say this, but it's another place I hope to make it to someday. We'll see, but I hope you're doing very well, Nasrullah. Raghav, thank you so much for your super sticker. I really, really appreciate that. It's very, very kind of you to put that in there. Again, whatever resources I have go back into the channel, to help you all. So I appreciate. So you're not really helping me. You're helping other learners. So I appreciate that. So hope you'll respond to me even if I'm out of network. I do my very best, Bemnet, to respond to everyone if at all possible. So yes. Hey, Ginger, I've sent connection requests on LinkedIn. Await your acceptance. Okay. I will double check. As you might imagine, I get a lot of LinkedIn requests for connections and messages and chats and stuff. So I will go back and check the list. Sometimes I get behind. So I will definitely check. Which, by the way, if you're here on YouTube and we're not connected on LinkedIn, make sure when you go to my profile, you click like the more or whatever it is, because it's set to follow. But if you do like the more or other, whatever it's called, you'll see the connect, and you can actually go ahead and hit the connect. All right. Can't thank you enough for all the videos that helped me. Please accept the small goodwill. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Okay. Oh, there's the update. 3-1. Netherlands 1. All right. Well, thanks for the update. Thank you for the update. It's not something I follow all that closely, but, I just hope for good games. I do have some personal issues with the World Cup being where it's at, but that's my personal sort of view. But I'm glad that the games seem to be going well, at least competitively, right? So, okay. Ditch SPSS for R. Piper Trip, well, that depends. If you're really committed to learning R and following through and using it, on a regular basis, then it is very much worth learning. Of course, it could also depend on what software is used in your field or what software is used in your academic discipline. What are the people around you? What are the expectations of the people around you that you use? How comfortable are you with a coding environment? Many people shy away from sort of coding environments and prefer like the GUI, what they can click and point and all that kind of stuff, which is easier to use, honestly. R is getting a bit easier to use, with each iteration of RStudio, but it's really up to you. And of course, you don't have to do one or the other. You can kind of do both, because SPSS, since it's so point and clicky, it is point and click. Learning to use it is a lot quicker and faster. You just got to know where everything is at to press. R is a bit different because you have so many different, functions that are built into it. You have so many packages you can add functionality to it. There's so much more in there. But I would encourage everyone to learn at least some R basics and Python basics, for that matter. I'm not saying you have to be an R Python hardcore data scientist or anything, but learning the basics, how it works, how to store things into variables, and how to use the different functions and some of the more common packages, is just a good baseline for everyone, I think, to have. And if you want to learn more, then you can go on from there. But I think a base knowledge of R and or Python, in addition to Excel and maybe an SPSS or whatever else, is very, very beneficial. But as always, don't get lost in the tools. Okay, don't get lost in the tools. All right. Let's see, where are we else here? Nasrullah, super sticker. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. Everything helps. Everything helps. Actually, someone sent me a donation the other day into my PayPal tip jar, and then I immediately moved that PayPal tip to my Starbucks app, and then went there and did like 4 hours work. So that's how it filters down, right? So a donation turns into coffee, and that turns into a YouTube video. So that's sort of the process. All right. I'm gonna take one more question here, and then I'm going to I'm gonna take one more question, and I just want to briefly talk about this live stream sponsor for you. It's a pre-set up video, but it's very important. You know, in addition to the tips and the super stickers and stuff that you all provide, these sponsorships that I'm very, 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 very selective about. FTX, anyone? Be careful who you have sponsor your channel if you are a YouTuber. I'm very selective about sponsorships, so I just do want to talk just briefly about this live stream sponsor, statistics.com, here in a second. So hopefully you will just stick with me for 90 seconds when we get to that here in a minute. So Kristen asked, thanks for doing this. What would you suggest for a very small business to use, especially calendar to incorporate personal and business email? Well, this is a very good question, Kristen. I wish I had a very good answer because I'm actually interested in the answer. But if you're talking just about, on the email side, Google and or Microsoft both have options for small businesses. So for my small business, I have a like a Google, what's it called? It's not called Google for Business. It's a Google something. I forgot what it's called. But it's a whole thing you can manage, like obviously online, and manage all the accounts and manage what access here and there, stuff like that. So Google has all that built in, email, calendars, you can do data stuff in there, et cetera, et cetera. It tends to be low cost. I'm sure Microsoft has something sort of similar. If you're just looking for like calendar type stuff, Calendly, of course, is the one that's well known. So there are lots of options, and there are, if you're talking about, it can also mean, are you talking about a brick and mortar type business, or just like a virtual online type business? Because that can be a different thing too, right? So if you go to a brick and mortar place, like a coffee shop or a local business or whatever else, they have an entire point of sale system that integrates all that kind of stuff, even for smallish businesses. So it just depends. Since you're on LinkedIn, I would ask around in other networks and join groups for small businesses and see sort of what they use and what they might recommend. So the company I work for is large, several thousand employees. But personally, for my YouTube stuff and my side business, I use Google, their Google service. And I get that service through my web hosting company. It's just like an add-on, and it costs me like $6 a month or something to have that sort of Google add-on to my web hosting service. So you might check there. So if your business has some sort of web hosting service, so I use Bluehost, GoDaddy's another one. There are other ones. So if you have a web host provider for your website or blog or whatever else, sometimes they will have an add-on to their web hosting that will do this for you. So that's how I got my Google sort of stuff set up. So I would definitely just double check there and see what offerings they might have to make it seamless for you. So good question. All right. just real quick, I'm going to run a little video about this live stream sponsor. It's only 90 seconds, so I hope you stick with me, and then we'll get back to our live stream.
This is Business Analytics using forecasting.
Hello, and welcome to Persuasion Analytics.
I will be your instructor in the next 4 weeks as you learn about interactive data visualization methods.
This course will be an exciting opportunity to learn about and play with modeling that's influencing our daily lives.
Data and statistics touch every facet of our lives. In fact, that is why you are here on my channel. Statistics.com is committed to preparing the next generation of data analysts just like you, while being human-centered. And, depending on your school, you might even be able to earn college credit. Classes are relatively small and personal. As a student, you aren't just a number. You can ask questions directly to your instructor, who, quite often, literally wrote the book, and receive a quality education with a personal touch. Statistics.com was the first online education institution approved by the American Council on Education. In the beginning, only one course was offered. Now, 75 courses are offered, covering the gamut of data science education. Many students are working adults from all over the world, and because courses are offered asynchronously, students can still maintain a career, family, and personal interests while also studying what they need to learn to take the next career step as a data science professional. For more information and a special discount offer from Statistics.com, please see the description below. Now, back to the video. All right. Well, thank you all for sticking around for that little message from Statistics.com. Statistics.com. I say that word a bazillion times and I can't say it half the time. It's hard to get off the tongue. So thank you all for sticking around. If you have any questions about them, please let me know. Just a reminder that this isn't some sort of fly in the wall, just out of nowhere sort of company that does online education. Like, this is like an online institution, like the real deal. And they have some of the, I know at least one of the people that teach there is an author on a book that I work on at Cengage. So they're very good. And of course, you saw Peter Bruce in there. They're the authors of these books. So you've probably seen this stuff. Like, they write the books. They write these books. So if there's a topic that you're interested in learning about from high quality, very high quality instructors, please check it out. And I'm not going to push anything on you I would not be willing to do myself, So I try to give you all resources that are beneficial, for you in your career and your education, while also helping out the channel. So thank you for Statistics.com for their sponsorship. I really appreciate it. Okay, back to questions. All right, so do you have a playlist that covers degrees of freedom from kindergarten to, let's say, undergrad or freshman? Degrees of freedom is one of those topics that you try to explain exactly what it means, and it's hard. I don't think I have any. Maybe I should, because it's something that someone always talks about. But I don't have a video specifically on degrees of freedom, and there are many explanations for degrees of freedom. But the simplest explanation I can tell you is why you have like n-1 versus n and like denominators and stuff like that. Is so it's an unbiased estimator. That's one way of explaining it. There are other mechanical ways you can explain it. But I will say this when it comes to degrees of freedom. Honestly, unless you're doing like a math degree or a math master's, you don't really need to know. Just some equations have n, some have n-1, and some have n-2. But it generally has to do with the number of parameters that we are estimating in whatever we're doing. So if we're estimating one parameter, we have n-1. If we're estimating two parameters, it's n-2. So that's another way to explain it. So I would not get too caught up on degrees of freedom. Just think of it as a general adjustment for certain equations, certain statistics, based on how many parameters that are being estimated. to make it an unbiased estimator. So that's my answer for that. But I might just make a video about it because this always comes up, somewhere on streams or whatever else. So Piper Trip asks, speaking of learning, does anyone here have a good recommendation of untidy data sets to practice cleaning data? I definitely need some practice with that. So I believe, obviously things like Kaggle and stuff like that are obvious, choices, but there are many other sort of online, I won't say competitions, but, collaborative or co-opetition, type websites where you can actually work on a real world data set that may be a little bit dirty and need some pre-processing, might need some new variables added to it, might need to be modified in some way. So, so that obviously the Kaggle type competitions are one option, but there are others. I think Maven is another one that does stuff like that. So in all of these sort of things, you won't get pristine, data sets necessarily. So you can also download your own. So there are plenty of websites. Excuse me, my tea. Did I get my glass? Have a happy day. Looks like me. You can go to various websites that are reputable and download data that's a bit dirty. A lot of government data and stuff like that has been cleaned and processed ahead of time, but you can find your own or make your own. I mean, you can take a clean data set and mess it up and then go back and try to unmess it up. So there are different ways you could approach that, but if anyone has any suggestions for Piper Trip about good recommendations of untidy data sets to practice cleaning data, please put it in the chat for Piper Trip. All right. Sarah Vannon asks, tell me which is the best book for probability for beginners in data science. Probably for beginners, Sarah Vannon, the best thing you can do is just read and follow through, maybe do some problems in any sort of introductory statistics book. In like the 4th or 5th chapter usually is going to cover the basics of probability. So, for example, so this is one of the book. This is the book I've been using to tutor for probably 10, 15 years. Of course, I ended up working at the company just by chance. So this is the book that is the market leader. It's the best business stats book there is and has been for, a long, long time. And I work on it. This is my day job. This is one of the books I work on in my day job. If you go to chapter 4, the best thing here, Sarah Vannon, is to find a stats book. They'll have an intro to probability. That's where I would start. Start right there. And it will cover everything from random experiments, counting rules, assigning probabilities, events and probabilities, relationships, Venn diagrams, and stuff like that, conditional probabilities, and of course the last one is Bayes' theorem, so Bayesian, a little bit of Bayesian in there. So I would start just with an intro stats book and look at the probability chapter and start there. And I recommend this one, of course, because I love this book. I've loved it for a long, long time before I even started working at this company. Just by chance, here I am. So this is the one to use. And of course, you can find used copies of those books, online and stuff like that to put on your bookshelf. That's also, like, if you wanted to keep like a reference stats book on your shelf just to have, this is the one to have. This is the one you put on the shelf. You just have if you got to look something up because it's so crystal clear. It's like a teachy but well explained, well written reference book with a lot of examples. All right. So let's see here. Back to the chart. Yeah. So Piper Trip account. Yeah. So Kristen, on your small business question in terms of email and data and scheduling, stuff like that. Yeah, Calendly might be a good choice. Good choice. Yeah. Piper Trip has have that book. Yeah, it's a good book. Peter Bruce's books are excellent. So someone was asking before in the stream, about, it might have been you, Piper Trip, about, Excel or SPSS versus like an R sort of situation, and or Python. See, Peter Bruce's book is about that. So this book, it's 50 essential concept using R and Python in the context of statistics. So it's mainly, you get both. You get an explanation of the statistics and the concepts, but you also get the code. And it's not like crazy. It's just a few lines of code. Of course, you can download the code from the website and everything like that. But this is a great place to start. So you can learn the statistics along with the R and Python. See, like that. And of course, this one too. Practical stats for data scientists. This is sort of the same sort of thing. And I didn't really mean to do this, but you all brought it up. So, same thing. So here's a t-test right in there. Bootstrapping. Yeah. So different libraries, for forecasting and time and other type stuff. So yeah. So I would start there, right? And of course, with these books, you have the code. You can download the code if you want to follow along. All right. Wilson asks, hey, Brandon, I can say now I'm at a stage where I'm confident on R, mainly in the tidyverse. Yes, tidyverse makes things a lot easier. It's just a series of like this, then this, then this, then this. The tidyverse makes these things much easier to code. So that's definitely one thing I would learn and get used to. If you're learning some R, the tidyverse makes things a lot easier to flow. It actually makes it more sense when you read it. Anyway, confident on R, mainly tidyverse and its various parts. Working on a bioconductor package. No idea Python. Should R be enough? Or it's deep to learn again? So two things here. Wilson, great question. I would say one, look around your field and what are most people using? So in your field, does there tend to be one or the other? Does the field tend to prefer one over the other? And if there is, then I would stick with that. Okay. Two, the second thing I would say about this is that once you learn one of them, learning the other one is easier. So once you learn R, it's easier than to learn Python, in my opinion. If you know Python, it's easier to learn R. So the effort is less sort of that second time around, okay? And there are some fundamental concepts that are universal to both. Like you can write functions in both. Well, how you write a function, the underlying concept of function writing, how you kind of structure it, is the same pretty much in many languages. So once you understand those concepts, like defining a function, writing it, you're doing maybe some sort of, something very simple like an if-then statement or something like that, then you can learn it in the other one. So I would just think of it that way. Learning one makes the other one easier. And they're fundamental underlying concepts that are universal to both of them and other languages. So once you have that down, it's easier to learn. And then look in your field and see what people tend to be using. But depending on what you're doing, R should be enough. So the difference between R and Python is that this is the best delineation, but R is really a specialized tool for statistics and data analysis. That's what it was built for. That's what it's maintained for. That's what it does, right? Python is really a general purpose language upon which or within which you can do data analysis and machine learning and all the other stuff. But you can do many other things with Python too, because it's more of a general sort of language. So it really just depends on which path you want to take. But since you know R, I don't think it would be a steep learning curve at all. Okay. Looking through the chat. Yep, we're going to go for a few more minutes. So if you have any other questions or comments, now is the time to put them in the chat so to make sure I can get to them before our time is up. Yeah, so Nasrullah is a good explanation of degrees of freedom. It's like, and again, this is another way of explaining degrees of freedom. This is the mechanical way I was talking about. So degrees of freedom, it's like the sum of x plus y. So if you choose x is 4, then you don't have a choice for y. It will by default be 6. Here, the freedom of choice is just one variable. It's very, very basic way of looking at that. Yes. So this is the mechanical way of explaining degrees of freedom. Of course, when you look, and this is absolutely correct. When you look at that in a formula, though, it's not intuitive that that's what it's sort of meaning, right? So, but Nasrullah, this is a perfect way to explain at a very basic level what a degree of freedom is in this simple algebraic context, but in a more advanced formula context, it can be hard to figure that out. But thank you. All right, does nominal, ordinal, and interval data falls into discrete data type? So interval data, no. So there are different ways to categorize and sort of name and define data types. So you can think of discrete versus continuous. So that's sort of that's the two sides there, discrete versus continuous. So theoretically, continuous means that it could take on any value or any sub-value. It's really a derivative, So it's the way I explained this in a video on my channel at some point. Like, if I have a three-dimensional object, like a cube, it has 6 discrete sides. 6 discrete sides. But if I start adding sides and adding sides and adding faces and adding faces, it becomes round, but it still has, what's the name of that thing that has many, it's like a soccer ball almost, right? But it has faces on it, but many. But you keep going and going and going, and eventually you have a smooth sphere. So it's continuous versus discrete, sort of things. Discrete variables are usually things that we count that are indivisible. So it's a discrete sort of thing. The simplest discrete example is binary, yes or no. Okay, so those are 2 discrete, non-overlapping options. But nominal and ordinal, sometimes nominal, data is usually discrete because nominal things are usually categories that we count. Ordinal can sometimes be either or. Depends on the application and what you want to do with it. But continuous data is usually what we think of measurement. Discrete things are what we usually think of as counting. That's not the best distinction, but that's usually the way we think about it. All right. Yeah. So tidyverse is really excellent. Yep. Been coding for 25 years. Tidyverse is some of the best stuff I've had the pleasure to learn. Absolutely. It does make coding in R so much easier, and it makes it so much more intuitive to read. It's almost like a pseudocode sort of thing, because your eye can just go whoop, and then this, and then this, and then this, and it's doing, it's piping them in there. Absolutely. Nasrullah says Python is easy. I'm not from science and math background, but have managed to learn a lot. John Philip Jones' YouTube channel is a great channel for Python. So while we're here, there we go. So Nasrullah, thank you for suggesting this. This is that channel. So John Philip Jones, video tutorials on Python programming and other computer science topics and mathematics. Yeah, so if you're interested in checking that out, I'll put it in the chat. I didn't make a link, did it? But there it is. Check that out. So thank you, Nasrullah, for suggesting that channel. Excellent. Sunitha asked, hi, Brandon, which software app do you use for making the slides for time series? So on the time series videos, let's see here. On the time series videos, this, what you see here, is all PowerPoint. Okay? That is PowerPoint. The thumbnails I do in Canva. So the video itself is made in a PowerPoint, and then the thumbnails in Canva. That's what I use for those. And who knows, maybe at some point I'll use Canva for everything. It's really amazing. It's an amazing. Canva is probably the best software company going right now. This is my view. I pay for the pro version of Canva. It's one of the few things I pay for where I feel like I get every penny's worth. And they use the money I pay them to make the product better continuously. I love Canva. The Canva thumbnails, a lot of the stuff you'll see like that is Canva, but the PowerPoint, this is all PowerPoint that you see here. All right. Yes, Python is very easy to learn, and you can do a lot with it. Absolutely. And of course, the other thing too is that there's kind of a blurring between these two things now. Like sometimes in the same, like in RStudio, you can run Python, of course, and R. Jupyter Notebook, you can do Python and R, depending on what kernel you fire up. I think in Excel too, you can do R and Python, but I've never tried it. But I think you can do that. And so and like Power BI and other, so there's this cross pollination of these things that one's appearing in the other, and you can do one in the other. So yeah, but once you learn, but I will recommend that you stick to learning one first. If you're new to it, stick to learning one or the other up to a point that it's useful to you, and then go back and do the other one, because then it'll be easier to learn that second one. All right. Thanks, Brandon, as always, from across all oceans. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yet, please recommend any certification for data scientists. So machine learning. So the intrinsic value of individual certifications is not something I personally can comment on. One, because there are so many. Two, it depends on what's your goal. Do you want the most valuable one based on its value in the job market? Like which certification carries most weight in the job market that job recruiters and hiring managers want to see? Or are you looking for one that, you might learn a lot, but it might be from a company that a lot of people have not heard of or isn't as famous? It's hard to answer that, So, I mean, the ones I see that come up all the time, I see the Google ones, the Google certifications pop up a lot. Is it Databricks? Pop up a lot. LinkedIn is just like a river of certifications and memes. So if you just kind of see what pops up in your field, that might tell you sort of which path to go. So LinkedIn's a great place to look. Also, if you ask around, like in groups or other people in the disciplines you work in, then you'll know sort of which one is valued or which one other people think is worth your time and cost potentially. So this is hard for anyone sort of to say, because one, I haven't done any of them. But what I will say is that the sponsor of this video and other videos that I've had recently, statistics.com, is a great place to get a high quality certification on many things. So you can check out statistics.com as well, because they're taught by just great teachers and great professionals, and they're well known. You don't write these books and no one knows who you are. Everyone knows who they are. So you might check out statistics.com as well. All right. Yes, that was my word, polyhedron, Piper Tripp. Thank you. Going from a discrete to a continuous surface, polyhedron. Corey Schaefer is also excellent for Python. Yes, Python. I think I've heard of that as well. So this is here. Yep, obviously I've heard of Corey Schaefer. He has 1 million subscribers, literally 1 million. So here's Corey Schaefer. If you're interested in learning to Python, because I am subscribed myself. So yeah, Corey Schaefer is also great. So thanks, Piper Tripp, for recommending that. Excellent. Okay. What arithmetic operation is allowed and not allowed then on interval and continuous data? Well, in continuous interval data, pretty much everything is allowed. Ratio data has the actual 0. So yeah, so continuous interval data is what we're probably used to. Like if I measure the temperature outside, that's sort of what I'm doing. If I measure the weight, if I'm preparing food and measuring the weight, it's sort of continuous. Ratio data is a little bit different, and sometimes these terms get confusing as well. But I think in general, think about continuous versus discrete first, then look at what other data and what you're going to use in it. Like ordinal. The hard one is ordinal data because it's not really continuous. It's discrete, but we treat it as continuous. Like we find like the 1 through 5 star ratings and then take the average. Well, that doesn't, really, you're not really supposed to do that, but we do it anyway. So it just depends, on what you want to do with it. All right. So getting into it very soon, absolutely. What is the full name of that stat book? Can you put the link if I can get it shipped by Amazon? The business stats book? Is that what you're referring to? I can get you that link. Yep. Pull this up. Sorry about the silence, but someone asked, so we'll pull it up. So the book that I held up is this one right here. So this is the book that I was just holding up. Obviously, same book right here. This is the one that I work on. So if you look inside on this page somewhere, you will see my name right there. Yep. So, is this the one that forgot my name in? Yeah. Anyway, so this is the book that I work on in my day job. All right, so this is it. And I mean, you know how hard it is to get almost a 5-star rating out of a textbook? It's really difficult to get that kind of rating out of a textbook. I mean, look at that. That's crazy. When I'm telling you this is the best book to learn from, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your rear end. I'm dead serious, especially if you like the way I teach, then this is the book you want to put on your shelf. Find a used copy. You can even get the 13th edition or find a used copy or whatever. This is the book to get. If you want to learn and you want to have a reference book on your shelf, this is it. You can find 13th edition, a used 14th or whatever. The 15th we're working on right now. This is it. So, if you teach at a university, this is the book to use. Or if you're a student, tell them to use this one. And I'm not just saying that because I work here or work on this book. It's a great book. So that's that one. All right. And then, if you are referring, let's see here. The other two books I showed are here. These are the other two books. These are more trade books through O'Reilly. Of course, these are, one of the authors on these two books is Peter Bruce, who founded statistics.com. Here they are. So those are great books too. You can follow along with that. All right. A few more minutes. So I'm going to go up and get some work done at the coffee shop for you all. Sarah from India, and your videos really helped me to grasp the concept of statistics. Many, many thanks. Well, you are very, very welcome. Raj, I appreciate your comments, and people like you are the reason I do it. So I'm glad you found them helpful, and if it's some small help along your journey of your career and your life, then I'm good with that. So thank you very much. Piper Tripp asks, master one language first, then branch out. Otherwise, you're not going to be really proficient at either. Absolutely. Some things I learn in concert or in parallel. So I kind of have things going on, and in parallel, and I look at the connections between the two. This is one instance where I think it's best to focus on the one language, like R or Python, and then go to the other, after a certain point. All right. Last one for the day. Why probability and likelihood are used interchangeably when both these concepts are not the same? Mathematically, yeah, that's correct, right? So probability and likelihood in the mathematical sense are not the same thing. However, in our everyday lexicon, in the way we talk, we use them the same. And there's some indeterminacy about both. So they have some similar, there's something similar about them, but they're definitely not the same thing. But in everyday language, we do talk about them as the same thing. And of course, probability is learned usually well before talking about likelihood, which is a much more complex topic than just basic probability. All right. True Pepper, yep, thank you. Thank you for helping out. Excellent. Thank you. You are very, very welcome. Thanks a lot for your videos. Has helped me to grasp the concepts, especially the hypothesis testing. Excellent. You're very welcome. Hey, Glenn, hope you're doing well. Sorry I'm running late. I saw your message on LinkedIn. I haven't looked at it yet, but I definitely will take a look at that. Maybe today. Yeah, stat book I just showed. I've been attending PyData 2022. The author, I think gave Bays a nice presentation with a Python notebook if someone wants to walk through the recorded workshop. Okay. Glenn, if you want, you're welcome to. If you want to put a link in the chat, you can share it with everybody if you want. If you have the resource that people could watch on their own. Okay, get ready to wrap this up, everybody. Brian, hey. Hello. Good to see you. I think you have a question coming, so I'll wait for it. Hopefully I can answer it. So while Brian types his sort of last question here, I'm just going to reiterate a few things if you kind of came in after the beginning of the live stream. So this is December 3rd. The last live stream of the year will be in 2 weeks, December 17th, because after that is a holiday season. I'll be traveling to Amsterdam during New Year's and Christmas time and stuff like that. I'll be actually in Amsterdam for New Year's, which should be pretty fun. Could be interesting. No, I'm not. I don't act crazy. So, but then we'll be back to live streams in mid-January. So from December 17th to mid-January-ish, there will be no live streams. But I'll probably be still working on some videos when I'm not overseas. Okay. Let's see here. So Brian says, I've seen some impractical examples on the law of big numbers. Possibly. I can look into maybe making a video on something like that. I'm always open for ideas. Do visit India. I hope to get there someday, Raj. Absolutely. I owe so much to students and other, viewers in India. A lot of channels do. There's a lot of young professionals and university students and just people that are interested, that you're looking for high quality educational materials. And my channel and many other channels like StatQuest and everybody else benefits from that. So we actually owe you. So thank you for your viewership and for obviously coming by the stream, Raj. Hope to make it there someday. So Piper Trip, I'll be in Germany, so we'll miss it. Have a great holiday season. Yep. You'll be in Germany, Piper Trip, and I will be next door in the Netherlands. So yeah, it's a lot smaller geographically over there than a lot of people think. I mean, it's like Germany is the size of Montana, the state of Montana. Of course, Netherlands is even smaller, very small. So look forward to spending some time over there. All the Christmas lights, and I'm not like a super Christmas person or religious person or anything, but I like seeing all the holiday things and the lights and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'll probably think about this a bit more, Brian. I don't want to take up too much of other people's time thinking about this, but it's a very good thing. So if you're on LinkedIn, send me this question again so I can maybe think about it some more. That's probably the best thing I can say, but maybe I can come up with something off the top of my head. I've seen my practical examples of the law of big numbers, like rolling die, flipping a coin. What are some practical examples, like in business context, or law of big numbers? One of the things off the top of my head I can think of is regression to the mean. So, I mean, regression itself, I mean, think about what regression is. It's regression to the mean, right? So over longer periods of time, as you have more and more data points, things tend to regress to the mean, whatever else it might be. So, I'm just making this up. I'm pulling it right out of my rear end. But let's say on January 1st, I run a small business or some sort of business, and I'm keeping track of my revenue every day, my sales, right? And then what I'm doing as I go, I'm keeping like a running average. So at the beginning, there might be wild variations and swings sort of day to day, and that running average will bounce around. But as I get more and more values in that series, it's going to be flat as a pancake because we're regressing to the mean. That's one example I can think of. Another example I can think of is like when strange things happen. While things are possible, that doesn't make them probable. And eventually something that seems to be happening outstanding will eventually regress to the mean. So and there are many examples of that. There are entire books written about, like when an athlete gets on a hot streak, okay? Perfect example. So an athlete will get on a hot streak, or a business will become popular for a while, or a meme, or whatever. Over time, those will all regress to the mean. So So those are a few examples off the top of my head I can think of. I'm not sure if that's what you were thinking of, Brian, but that's what I could think of. So, yeah, just send me a message and maybe I can think about that some more. It's hard to do that on a live stream. Think of examples, top of my head. Piper trip, the Munich Christmas markets, absolutely. So I think next year, a year from now, might go back to Germany, and this time kind of stick to the south and like do the Christmas markets and the Alps and stuff down there. So I think that is what I might do next year, Piper trip. So yeah, no problem, absolutely. I can think about it some more. Great example, good. Yeah. So regression to the mean is one example of law of large numbers that I can sort of think of. And the reason people use things like a dice roll is because it's a good example, right? So if I roll, one, die a couple of times, I might get a 1 and a 6 and like a 3 or whatever. But if I'm taking the average over many, 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 many rolls, the average is going to be 3.5. So that's why people tend to use stuff like that. All right. So Piper trip, have been to Germany since 1986. So looking forward to it. Well, Germany was a lot different then. So yeah, it's great. I can, buy a train pass if you haven't already. The whole train system and the public transit system makes everything so easy. What's what makes it work. It made my trip so much more possible for a small amount of money. But yeah, it's great. So enjoy everything when you're over there. All right. Okay, everybody. So been an hour and 8 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. But first, I want to thank the sponsor of the video, statistics.com, for their sponsorship. For this fall, we've done several videos and streams together, so I appreciate their support. So please support them by checking them out and maybe taking a course or look at certificate programs, whatever else. It's high quality content, everybody. It's just fantastic. And I want to thank all you all for coming by the stream today. It was a great chat. I really appreciate you taking your time to spend some of it with me. I'm eternally grateful. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. So I hope you all have a great rest of your Saturday, wherever you happen to be, or your weekend. And I will see you again in 2 weeks on, assuming nothing else happens, December 17th. So take care, everyone. Thank you, and bye-bye.